o'clock, 1/3 of the fantasy football boot camp, one half of FNL, and one half of Sloppy Sundays presented to you by the Fantasy Football Network. On my other half, my better half, the wisdom, the calmer half, my brother Jeff Clark, a.k.a. Media. How you doing?
Man, loving it. Doing great, man. I've always wanted to say, and it's Fantasy Night Live. Almost messed that up.
Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel like a kid, man, waiting for Christmas, waiting for these games tomorrow, brother. I'm excited, man. Been about 19 leagues, it feels like. We'll see what happens.
Hey, you were a better man than I, man. The wife cut me off at 3, just with work and a 2-year-old. That's it, 3. So all expert analysts, influencer, content creator leagues. Shout out to the JV show. Shout out to Kevin Piggybake Picks and the Breaking the Bank League. And shout out to my own little league, the Live Las Vegas League, presented to you by the Las Vegas Fantasy Football Conference. But, yeah, man, this show is tailored to just recap, not recap, but preview the Sunday ticket, which is tomorrow. You know, a lot of you guys just finished watching college football, and you're probably tinkering with your rosters and your lineups. And there's so many shows that are going to be doing that tomorrow morning. Why not tune into someone who's helping you tonight? So here we are. We're here to answer your questions, and we're just going to do a quick preview of all 16 or 15 games that are left to be played. What's the first game you want to get into, man?
Man, let's start off with something I think is going to be a huge game. I think it's going to be an early kind of, playoff implication type game. Mm-hmm. And that is the rematch of the AFC Championship game between the Browns and the Chiefs. Man. I want to see if this Browns defense is for real. In a lot of fantasy leagues, they were still left on the waiver wires, man. So I'm like, man, how do you leave Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney on the waiver wire? But, let's see if they're for real, man. And then I want to see, was last year's AFC Championship game a fluke? Or, are these dudes coming out smoking, ready to go ahead and try to put it to the Chiefs, man? And if the Chiefs take an L, what does that say about them for the rest of the season, man? I don't know about anybody else, but those first game losses, I don't like.
In real life or in fantasy football, right?
Exactly.
Not trying to correct you, but the AFC Championship was Buffalo versus KC.
You're right.
So divisional.
I need to be correct.
Yeah, my Steelers took a big L to Cleveland, and then I think Mahomes went down for a quick second, and Cleveland didn't capitalize, and they lost, and then KC went on to beat Buffalo and lose to Tampa. That's neither here nor there. It's going to be a great divisional rematch. Patrick Mahomes is probably going to put up Patrick Mahomes' number. As long as the O-line is healthy, I think he's defense proof. Guys like Tyreek and Kelsey are defense proof. What will be interesting is to see what Clyde Edwards-Helaire can do with the low ankle sprain. I want to say in the second preseason game, we'll see what he has to offer and what he's going to what he can produce versus that front seven that you mentioned, Garrett and Clowney. What are your thoughts about that KC defense?
Honestly, man, what happens with the KC defense, they always seem like they are really mediocre until they get to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. When they step it up, that's kind of their MO. I've always dared myself to draft them, but then I'm just like, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to do it. I love the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, but that's about it, except I forgot my man Frank Clark as well, but he's just some things there, man. It just doesn't seem like they really come together until it's time for the playoffs. So it'll be a test for them, especially against that running game. So, but to me, the test is going to be, I want to see what Baker Mayfield actually does. I want to see if he's going to, basically ride the running game the whole game, or is he going to come out throwing. And I think that's what messed me up calling that the AFC Championship game, because I was still stunned that they had actually beat the Steelers. And then they end up and they were actually in the game against the Chiefs. And I'm just like, what the hell's going on? So that was it, man. That had me focused on that game because of that. So, you know,
I was going to say, for fantasy purposes, no one should be starting Baker Mayfield this week. When I watch him go for 4 touchdowns. But what are your expectations for like a Kareem Hunt and a Nick Chubb, who are week to week regular starters? People probably, you might have Odell in your flex, but more than likely you don't have Odell or Landry starting. You obviously don't have Austin Hooper starting. But what is your outlook versus that? Like as you put, that Kansas City defense shows up later, so this is a prime matchup for Hunt and Chubb. What are your expectations for them tomorrow?
Well, this is one thing. I really think the Kansas City defense, understanding who they are playing in this first game, I think they are going to try to plan for this run game. So I'm looking at for Chubb, I'm saying 98 yards and a touchdown. I'm saying for Kareem Hunt, I'm looking at he has probably about 6 receptions and a touchdown. I'm thinking that the Browns don't score more than 21 points.
Ooh. Looks like we got a few questions. We got BK7. Shout out KD. Is that you, bruh? Is this your YouTube account and not your Twitter account? So you got Allen Robinson, Deontay Johnson, or T. Higgins. You're only asking for one. Chicago is playing.
Chicago's playing the Rams. So Allen Robinson, I'm not. Because I'm looking at Jalen's going to be on him, Ramsey going to be on him. And you got Andy Dalton throwing the ball. Nah, ain't gonna happen tomorrow, bro. You better find somebody else.
Deontay Johnson is gonna draw Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious, like my brother Flojo says, Tre'Davious. Man, that's a tough matchup. I like T. Higgins. Since he's playing Minnesota, he may or may not draw Patrick Peterson, who's kind of long in the tooth. That's a tough one. It's hard because I feel like if you spent, like Flojo said, if you spent the draft capital on A-Rob, you almost have to sit on. But yeah, BK7, he's playing Ramsey, bro.
Exactly.
I mean, if we learn one thing about Ramsey is that he doesn't move in motion. If you watch that Packers-Rams divisional playoff game, Adam scored on that motion where there was no rotation. So maybe A-Rob can shine. One thing I like about A-Rob is that he is QB proof. I feel like you spent the draft capital on A-Rob. You can't sit him. As crazy as that sounds, you can't sit him.
If they weren't playing the Rams, because it's not only Jalen Ramsey that you're worried about, you got to worry about Aaron Donald tearing through Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. So I don't see him having a whole lot of time to look for Allen Robinson tomorrow, man.
Right. Kevin Cora. My brother Piggy says Mooney is Ramsey's daddy. That's true. We shouldn't just expect that because Ramsey is on the field that he's going to guard Allen Robinson all the time, BK7. Because if you remember that double move that Trubisky could not make the basic common, which pretty much probably more than that cost him his job. But I would not necessarily just assume that Ramsey's going to shadow Robinson the entire game. OBJ versus Chark.
I was just looking at that. Ooh. First of all, they say OBJ may play.
Right.
That's the thing. I might go with the healthy Chark against the Texans. The Texans.
True.
OBJ, who may not be fully 100%.
Yeah. Me personally, I like Chark better as well. Yeah. I think OBJ is a phenomenal talent, but he's still kind of questionable. That's one kind of thing that we're going to run into is that we're doing this show at night and not in the morning. He's probably going to play. He's probably going to suit up, but that offense is predicated on the run and not on passing. Trevor Lawrence has tons of receivers to choose from, but DJ Chark is the alpha in that lineup. So I'll go Chark. Moving on to another game, since we're talking about it, Jacksonville versus Houston. Are there any players fantasy-wise that you're probably going to start? Maybe Chark and maybe Brandon Cooks as like a flex or wide receiver too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even sleeping on Laviska Shenault. I don't know exactly how he's going to be used. I even think they might, do a couple of pitch outs to him. I think they're going to try some things with him. So he's another guy that I'm looking at. James Robinson, definitely.
My bad. I totally blanked on him.
Yeah.
It's our first show. Give me a break.
Exactly. We ain't holding me down. That's why I'm here. I'm holding you down. I got you.
Right. Hey, yeah, that's it. Hey, if I launch it up, I know media gonna come down with it.
One hand catch. I got you. Yeah, man. So we're gonna see. I don't see any redeeming qualities left on that Houston Texans defense unless they surprise us. I'm like, hell, pretty much start a whole lot of the Jaguars offensive
players.
Weapons. Yeah.
Let's go to San Francisco versus Detroit, man. Mozart, Kittle are obviously. I mean, I feel like Mozart is. You got to start him while he's healthy. I feel like he is someone who can contribute to a fantasy football while healthy. He's a monster. The zone run scheme is undefeated as far as for fantasy points with, guys like Arian Foster and Terrell Davis and even Dalvin Cook and Chubb. They all run that same zone run scheme.
Right.
Who do you like for Detroit? Anyone outside of Hawkinson?
No, actually, I like Tyrell Williams.
Woo.
I've actually had that dude in a couple of previous leagues when he was with the Chargers and when he was with the Raiders. When healthy, the dude, he still has some speed and he's got some length to him. He will go up and put down a ball or two, man. And I'm just like, other than Hawkinson, which defenses might be ready for? Who else do they have to throw the ball to? I don't trust Amon St. Ra yet. I'm looking at a vet, and I think Jared Goff is probably going to try to get that ball to him. So and DeAndre Swift, I'm fully in fade mode on him. They just lost the lineman today. Is on IR, one of their top linemen. His name escapes me at the moment. So, that was the one thing that was holding that offensive line together. First-year head coach. It's the Lions. It's like, what else should we expect?
Yeah.
So,
I'm curious to see a healthy Kittle out there tearing it up and running. Someone who I couldn't touch this year, but man, he's talented. I mean, that entire offense, those guys are talented. Debo's talented. Ayuk is talented. They all can't stay healthy at the same time. BK7 is saying final answer. Yeah, man, I think you got to go A-Rob. You probably spent the draft capital of the third round on him. You go for your return on investment. Mooney did. Ramsey did shadow Mooney. Ernesto Paz says go Higgins. That would be my second pick. I think Higgins has a lot of upside. I think Cincinnati's going to play from behind. So if you're doubting it, but I wouldn't even consider Deontay Johnson. It's either A-Rob or Higgins, in my opinion. Piggy's helping us out with some stats. A-Rob got 4 receptions and 70 yards last year. If you're in full PPR, that's 11 points. Half PPR, that's 9. I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
And I do feel like the Red Rocket is an upgrade, a minor upgrade on QB to Trubisky. So we'll see. Hollywood, Callaway or Hollywood? Ooh, you're a Callaway guy. Let's go over to New Orleans versus Green Bay.
Is that even a question? I'm like, is that a question?
So you're going Callaway? You're not a Jair?
Callaway. I'm not worried about
Alexander,
Jair's Island and all that stuff. Callaway is a dog. He's looking for this matchup, and you got the guy that is ready to just let loose and throw the ball. Winston is going to throw the ball, y'all. They're not afraid. that's what I'm looking at. You got a receiver that's not afraid. You got a quarterback that's not afraid. I think Sean Payton has some things up his sleeve. This is the first time he's had a quarterback that can throw the ball a long ways in a long time. And I think Sean Payton is putting some things together. I'm also going to throw something else out there. Don't sleep on Juwan Johnson, the wide receiver turned tight end. There's a reason why they're putting that cat at tight end, man. So that's another guy to keep your eye on. Traquan Smith is out. So, yeah, they're going to throw the ball, man. It's not just going to be running, not going to be just dump offs to Kamara. I think they're going to try to push the ball up the field. So, we'll see, man.
Yeah, in that game, obviously Kamara is a must start. Callaway maybe has some flex upside. I don't think anyone's starting Jameis Winston at least week 1 as their quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, what do you expect from him? Devontae Adams, I guess you could say their core 4 who we know should be in a starting lineup and majority starting lineups, and Jones, Adams, Rodgers, and Tunyon. What do you expect from them versus that New Orleans defense?
New Orleans defense. I expect Adams to be Adams. I expect A-Rod to be A-Rod. I expect Aaron Jones to be Aaron Jones. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of Tunyon.
Yeah.
I think Tunyon was one of those guys that nobody was really had on their radar last year. So neither did defenses at the time. So, I don't know. The one guy that I'm wondering what he's going to do, nobody that I'd start in fantasy, but I am wondering how they're going to use Cobb. That's one thing I'm watching during this game as well. I don't think I don't think New Orleans was really thinking about, maybe we have to watch Randall Cobb, but I bet you Aaron Rodgers has some plans on how to get him involved as well.
Yeah. To go back to that question, I know we were kind of trying to save Baltimore versus Las Vegas for the ending, but I think there's a little bit of upside in Hollywood going against that Las Vegas defense, which is like a JUCO defense. And then Baltimore doesn't have hardly any running backs left. They might give me an audition next week, and then you have their first round Bateman is out for a while. Hollywood could have some sexy appeal, but I might take Hollywood over Callaway personally.
Really?
But we can talk about Baltimore versus LV later. Let's see, Swift, Henderson, or Mozart. I like Mozart the most because Chicago's defense is pretty good and Henderson, we can see if he can be the guy. Swift versus the San Francisco defense, no thank you. Mozart versus Detroit looks sexy, and Mozart's hurt. So, Mozart is healthy right now. I think that's the biggest thing is that Mozart is healthy. Start him. He's the guy. What's my man? Was it Wilson? Wilson is out, so Sermon may give him some breathers, but I think Mozart's the best play. Half point PPR, 12 teams, super flex. Pick one: Brandon Cooks, Jarvis Landry, or Devontae Smith. I'll let you take this one.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Oh man. You know what? I would honestly say I'm gonna go with Brandon Cooks. You know, who else does Tyrod Taylor have to throw to? Honestly, Chris Conley. I don't know. What Nico Collins, rookie? He's gonna go with the untrusted guy that's out there. I think that's kind of the only answer. I really like Devonta Smith. I just don't know what him and Hurts. I don't know if they've had time to develop a rapport yet. So I think it's going to be more of the tight ends that he's going to be looking to first. Goddard and even Ertz, man. So that's the only thing that scares me about Devonta Smith. I don't think they've had enough time to put things together. I always love Jarvis because Jarvis always comes through. I just don't know in this game here. I think they're just going to rely more on the run than on the pass.
Keep Pat off the field.
Exactly.
Yep. I can see it.
I'd go with Cooks. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing from behind anyway. So you got 3 of the slowest running backs that you could possibly pick up on one team. Between old Ingram, Philip Lindsay's, he's all right. And they got Rex Burkhead. They got who else? They got just whoever Baltimore has not signed. They're all on the Houston Texans.
Yeah. Juju versus Pittman. Indy's got Seattle on the docket. I believe there's no Ty Hilton. I just don't trust Carson Wentz, bro.
Yes, that's the only thing.
But Juju's in a slot. I'll probably still take Juju. I mean, Juju's going higher in drafts than Pittman for a reason. He's going at least 3 to 4 rounds earlier. So I think you got to take Juju. CMC or James White full PPR 15-man league. CMC as in Christian McCaffrey.
That's what I'm like, man. Is that a trick question? You trying
1.1? All right, Juju or Chase? I'll take Juju over Chase. Chase got a case of the droppies. He's been talking a lot of trash, especially about Patrick Peterson in the media. And then there's still Boyd and Higgins. And granted, there's Claypool and Johnson, but Juju's is in the flex and should get a lot of looks in the slot, especially with the older arm Ben Roethlisberger. Let's move on. I guess let's talk about Minnesota versus Cincy.
Go ahead. We'll move on. Because you're going to that way. They're going that direction anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you got Joe Mixon. You got the 3-headed receivers. Joe Burrow, I think, is a top 12 QB this week. I know the offensive line is a little sus, but what are your expectations? What are your thoughts on Cincy versus Minnesota?
I think they're going to be playing from behind.
Mm-hmm.
The only person I really trust on Cincinnati's team on the offensive side of the ball is honestly Higgins. Tyler Boyd as well. I do trust Tyler Boyd. Anytime, and that's what I wanted to say, what people may not have saw, but the thing in the media that actually came from Chase was when he was talking about why he was having the drops. He was saying that the ball is different in the pros. It's bigger. It doesn't have the white lines, and that's what he was focusing on. So now he's just starting to focus on looking at the laces of the ball. And remember, this was a guy that did not play last year. So for him to say that now, I'm not trusting him in week 1 at all. I may not trust him until week 6 because that's something that you are staying later with the pass machine and everything, trying to figure that out. And I don't know if he's done that yet. From what we saw in preseason, he has not. He's diagnosed what the problem is. So maybe, next year, if you're in a dynasty league or something, I'm holding him till then. But for now, for the first 4 games, man, I can't fool with them, especially when you got Tyler Boyd there and T. Higgins. So.
We got one. We got flex play, Drudy or Tyson Williams. That's actually a pretty good one, man, because Tyson is the only person who actually spent the entire offseason with in the backfield. He's the only one that's not a new running back. Drudy looks like a sexy pick, man, but Flojo has him, and I play against him, so I don't want him to do good. Giants defense is pretty good. Giants defense is pretty good. I may go Tyson. Tyson.
I actually inserted him in my lineup, so.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah, I tried to trade Kennedy Galladay for him, and my man's wasn't having it after I lost Gus this week.
You've had a hard start to your fantasy.
Dude, like I said, I only do 3 leagues, and I lost J.K. and Gus in 2 of them, bro.
Oh man,
it's neither here nor there, and they don't care. The streets don't care. Yeah. Minnesota, we're gonna start Cook, Jefferson, and Thielen. I don't feel like we need to talk about any of their players, especially versus Cincinnati. Since we're talking about Denver and New York, let's head over there, man. Drudy is a nasty route runner, man. Cortland Sutton, and then you got Gordon Williams. Williams is gonna be the guy, but Gordon is still the guy. Yeah. On the opposite end, you've got. I don't think Evan Ingram is playing tomorrow. You got Barkley, who was just cleared, probably going to see closer to like 14 touches. Galladay. Thoughts on that game? Any bright stars? Anyone who you're starting?
Actually,
Giants defense underrated. Also,
they are, but so is Denver's. Everybody's looking at their secondary, but they don't understand. Von Miller is back. Bradley Chubb is there. They have a solid defense, and that's the one thing I would trust Vic Fangio to coach is the defense. So I'm a little bit afraid, man. If somebody's going to start Saquon Barkley tomorrow, I don't know if I'm taking that chance. I got somebody else that I can put just a little bit more faith in. You know, I'm rolling with him. Someone that may not have his talent, but I know they'll be getting touches because they're not afraid of, his health. So, like a Mike Davis, if you got somebody like that, I would probably start him over Saquon Barkley. I might start Gaskin over Barkley, man.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Let's go over to Miami versus New England. That New England defense is pretty good, and they got a lot of starters returning from that excused themselves or didn't play last year due to COVID. So they got some talent. You got Barkley or Gaskins? Piggy wants to know. Ernesto says Barkley. BK7 says Barkley.
I think I might take Gaskins. I'm a little bit afraid of how Malcolm Brown is gonna factor in. But I think Barkley's going to be limited. I don't think they're going to give him he's not going to reach over, like you said, 14 touches. I don't think he's going to be in there a whole lot. I think they're going to mix in.
I can see a touch count coming for Barkley.
Yeah. And then it's against a tough defense as well. So that's the other thing. And the Giants' offensive line is not the greatest. So, that's another thing. I'm kind of fading a lot of guys that are on the Giants.
With this particular offense, I like Damian Harris versus that Miami, especially with Cam shouldn't be – obviously Cam's not on the team, so that's a lot of goal line touchdowns that shouldn't be vultured by the quarterback. Damian Harris is a sexy play. I actually turned down Damian Harris for Adam Thielen, and I'm shooting myself in the foot. I probably should have taken that after losing Gus, but I really wanted to – trying to push Galladay, and it didn't work. Thoughts on Fant this year? Not sure about my pick. Want to see what y'all think about him. I think he's a great talent, but he's someone who's proven that he can't stay healthy. One, he's already injured now, and the season hasn't started.
Exactly.
2 or 3, he is the third option on that team. He's not. I mean, they have 2 quality receivers in Drudy and Cortland Sutton, so it's hard for me to have faith in Fant. And then their offense really isn't predicated on the pass. And Teddy Two Glove, I mean, you're not starting him for fantasy, so it's like it's hard to believe. Like Hawkinson, okay, you're not starting Goff, but there's no competition for targets. When you look at someone like Fant, they've got Teddy's got options other than Fant, especially if Fant can't stay healthy. I faded him this year. This is not a big sample size, but I did 3 leagues. I did not even consider Fant in any of them. Talent-wise, he's a beast, but he's just almost never healthy. Cam left his team to stay out of Damian's way, I'm sure. I agree. He didn't want to be a distraction for those goal line touchdowns.
But that is one thing I did want to say about that Dolphins-Patriots game, man. If you're looking at the Patriots offense, the one thing you need to understand, every time Bill Belichick goes against one of his former defensive coordinators, it doesn't go well for the Patriots. Hell, they got beat by the Lions when Matt Patricia was there. So in Flores, he seems to know, all the things that are in Bill's playbook, man. I think he's been against their offenses for a while, so he knows what's coming. So I think Damian Harris is still a safe play, but I'm wondering what Mac Jones is going to look like, and I definitely wouldn't be starting any New England Patriots receivers tomorrow at all.
He says, so we taking Higbee over question mark? Yeah, I'll take as my brother Flojo says, I'll take Higbeast over because at least Stafford is a competent quarterback with a cannon and has proven that he could push the ball down the field. I know that there's Kupp and Woods, but we're talking about we're talking about probably 2 tiers of separation between Teddy Bridgewater and Matthew Stafford. So I will take Higbeast, especially with no more Gerald Everett. And I think the Rams are going back to 11 instead of running 12 formation. For those that don't know, 12 is a twin tight end. I like Higbee better than Fant. Logan Thomas going later in drafts and a better play. I agree, man. Probably the steal of the draft. Former quarterback from Virginia Tech, just a monster. He understands and probably got to upgrade at quarterback. Someone who likes to go vertical, but also someone who will turn the ball over and put them in situations where they need to pass as well. Yeah. For fantasy purposes, is great for us.
Tomorrow's going to be a test because I actually picked up the Los Angeles Chargers defense because it seems a lot of people are forgetting that Derwin James is back. Chris Harris is there. That secondary is not to be played with. So tomorrow's going to be a good test. I think a lot of people are going to be really, really sad starting Ryan Fitzpatrick tomorrow because them dudes is going to be waiting for him. You got Joey Bosa still on the line, man. Hey, that defense it's a sneaky play. Washington is a good defense. This could be a low-scoring game, man, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I benched Herbert and started Brady. I took Herbert in the 7th and got Brady in the 9th. And not super flex, just I thought the value was there. So I took Brady. I'm going Coleman. I'm going Coleman over James White. I'm not buying or quite understanding the James White hype. I understand Mac Jones doesn't like to go vertical, and he still kind of almost has like a Chad Pennington aura about him where he just plays it safe and completes, has a high completion percentage, but doesn't really go vertical. But Tevin Coleman, man, we can get into that game next. We haven't covered Jets versus Carolina. I'm gonna cross that off the ledger. I'll take Coleman while he's still the starter. The D coordinator from San Francisco, I'm blanking on his name, and the offensive coordinator, they're gonna adopt that same zone run scheme from San Francisco. Coleman should see 15 touches and should do well versus that Carolina defense. You got anyone? I mean, obviously, deeper leagues, you're taking Elijah Moore, but you're not starting him tomorrow. But Carolina, we're probably got some DJ Moore owners, and maybe people are starting Robbie Edmondson at their flex.
Yeah. That might be one guy that you want to look at if you are in a tight pinch for tight end, man, Tyler Croft. Because I think him and the rookie have a connection, and that might be a security blanket. So that's another dude I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're starting CMC. Kevin, I'm scared. He just has no pulses. I didn't know because that's what I was thinking, but I was reading reading about that, and it was talking about how Mac and White had some good chemistry. You know who I think, JT, who might be a creepy play? Not even creepy, but there's no Edelman. And last year, Jacoby Myers showed that he could be a productive, like he's a name to keep in your on your roster. And with no Cam and with I think Jones being a more accurate quarterback, I could see Jacoby Myers being that more safety blanket than James White. James White's always going to have a role, but I just don't know how much of a role. Jets going 17-0.
That's what I was looking for that.
Is this shot callers here right now?
You need to go to a sports book somewhere and bet that right now. And if you win, please just take me out to dinner.
You feel me?
Matter of fact, I'll give you $5 to go ahead and put that on there for me too. If you got some sort of tip that makes you think that's going to happen.
Man.
$5 might get you about 5,000. Who knows?
Flojo hit me back. Let's see. Let's go into this next game. Let's go Arizona versus Tennessee. This is a juicy game that's not getting the love that it deserves. You got my doppelganger. I don't think is it in here? It might be in another room. Where's my headband at? It might be in another room. You got my doppelganger, Kyler Murray. You got Chase Edmonds, who's like just crazy, man. I don't know where to gauge this guy. Obviously you have the backup in James Conner. You got one of the best receivers, most complete receivers in the game in Hopkins. And on the other side, you got Julio, AJ, and you got Henry, and you got Tannehill, who's been back-to-back QB7 and doesn't get nearly the same respect that he deserves. Who do you like in that matchup?
Man, it's going to be a tough thing, man. I'm slightly leaning towards the Titans. But the thing I want to see is Arizona's defense old, or have the guys that they just signed, especially J.J. Watt, has he been? And also I want to see if A.J. Green, I want to see if they found the fountain of youth and somehow reverted back at least a good 80% of what they were. Because I'm starting Derrick Henry. And I want to see if Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, and the rest of those dudes, Xavier Collins, man, they got a pretty. I want to see what their defense is going to look like. But I'm not going to sit Henry. I'm going to start.
We'll see what happens. A lot of people, they have a lot of big names on Tennessee, but their defense was actually pretty bad last year. And it kind of gets swept under the rug. Mm-hmm. But they've kind of got a revamp. They picked up Bud Dupree from Pittsburgh, who's probably not 100%, kind of in the Saquon area where he's going to play, but he's probably not himself. I'm curious to see how that game shakes out. A lot of talented fantasy. I wouldn't mind that being like as the Sunday night game or have been a Monday night game because there's just a lot of fantasy implications all over it. I'm going to go back into the comments real quick. BK7.
Please
I'm not a Cardinal fan, but Kyler is going to win MVP. They're going to win the Super Bowl, and Chase Edmonds is going to finish the year with more yards than Derrick Henry.
Are you sure?
You're not biased.
A closet Cardinals fan?
And we beat Tennessee. I want to know who this is, bro.
Whoever they are a Cardinals fan. They lying to themselves because they already said, and we beating Tennessee. You don't say we unless you ride with that team, man. You're a closet Cardinals fan.
Julio or Cooper Kupp. I'm going to go Cooper Kupp, man. That's a tough one. Because, they spent the draft capital on Julio. They got rid of a second. But I think Kupp and Stafford have something special. And I was glad to be able to get Cooper Kupp in one of my 3 leagues. And I actually have Julio in the other 2 leagues that I don't have Cooper Kupp in. But I think Cooper Kupp is going to break. Is going to be a top a wide receiver one and breaking the top 12 again. He didn't last year, but I think he'll be there again this year.
Yeah, it's tough because there's limited
Julio
receivers.
plays AZ secondary. Yeah, very true. So let's go. I guess we kind of did touch in. Let's elaborate a little bit more on the Chargers versus the Washington football team. Austin Eckler, J-Jack, Keenan Allen, no Curtis Samuel, Terry should eat, and Logan Thomas. What are your thoughts? Talk to us. Oh, Herbert.
Any of those guys, man. I'm looking. People better, Scary Terry. He's been scary.
Yeah.
But, I even thought this is guy coming out of college, watching him during the preseason. People are sleeping on Diami Brown. I'm telling you that right now. On the opposite side of McLaurin, this cat, because everybody's sleeping on him, he could get slept on tomorrow. But like I said, that's the only thing I want to see what this Chargers secondary looks like, because that's the thing that scares me with Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing to these guys. Man, yeah, I just want to see what's going to happen tomorrow with that. But you can always go with Antonio Gibson.
Right. Eckler or Barkley. I'm going to take Barkley just because Eckler is hurt. And Eckler still has that Washington defense that he has to play against.
Exactly.
That defense is going to be a problem for a long time. They're anchored by Chase Young. Obviously, I will take Barkley in because they're both probably going to have limited touches. Probably within the 10 to 15, they probably won't see a full workhorse that workload that we're used to accustomed to seeing. So I could see. As far as matchups, I like Barkley playing Denver versus Eckler playing Washington. Especially Eckler's injury is recent and fresh. Barkley's had a whole year to kind of get healthy. Pittsburgh versus Buffalo, man. This is a tricky one.
Yeah, it is. I know that they got Tre'Davious White back there, but there's still some leaks around there. Other than Tre'Davious White, it's not like you got some lockdown guys on the other side.
Right.
Ben, you were talking about Deontay Johnson earlier. Ben likes to find him underneath. So that's the thing. I can see dump offs to him. I can see dump offs to Najee Harris as well. That was the only thing that scares me about Juju. Now they've got a guy that they can really dump the ball off. They've got a running back that can catch, man. So, that's the other. It's that Buffalo Bills defensive line is good, but I can see Ben having some guys to move the ball around on. I don't think there's going to be one guy that's getting all the receptions. I think Ben is they're going to play a smart game. I think they're going to hand the ball off a lot to Harris, but he's going to dump that ball off across the middle.
Right.
Things like that, And then tomorrow's going to be a test for the Bills. To tell you the truth. Everybody, we live off of last year sometimes, but then you've got coaches like a Mike Tomlin that will look at the Bills and be like, I know what they're going to do. Hell, he used to coach Sean McDermott. So,
right.
There's some things there. The guy I would watch for the Bills, other than Stephon Diggs, is maybe Gabriel Davis.
But you're not starting him tomorrow, not week one.
I'm not starting him, but I'm just saying, in a pinch, if you need somebody that you're just like,
right.
I don't know.
If you have a receiver that goes down tomorrow, that's Gabriel Davis is a good pickup, even with what's my man, the anti-vaxxer from Dallas, Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders. We got a good question. I traded Alvin for Najee and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think you won that trade personally.
Yeah,
because you got yourself probably a back end first rounder and a second rounder. Clyde usually goes in the back end of the second. You got a back end first and a back end second for a top end first. So I think you won that. And running backs are just, as a Gus Edwards and a J.K. Dobbins owner, running backs are privileged. Started to Tannehill over Dak, probably not going to pay off. But do you think Tannehill could do better? I don't think he could do better, but I think he should have. Let me see what he's projected for. My phone is up here.
Also, check the health of A.J. Brown, too, because I heard he was
no one's talking about that right now, bro. Julio could actually have a crazy week one. I have Tannehill on Sleeper. I'm opening the wrong app. Give me a second, guys. What is Tannehill projected to get tomorrow? 25 points. And Dak got more than 25. I think who asked that question? Was that BK?
Yeah.
BK, I think that Tannehill can achieve 25. I don't know that he's gonna do what Dak did Thursday night with 3 touchdowns and over 400 yards. It's not impossible, but I think Dak would have been the safer play. But it's hard because Dak played that Tampa Bay defense, and I didn't think he was going to eat like that. I knew Zeke was going to struggle, but I didn't think Dak wasn't going to go ham like that. It's good. Hey, kudos to him, man. He's been through a lot. I'm not a Cowboys fan by any means, but I'm all about people overcoming. He had a lot of deaths in the family. He had that nasty injury, so it's just good to see him. Brother got paid. I'm glad he's out there doing his thing. I had Hunt as my RB2 before the trade. Now he's on my bench. Yeah. I'm not mad at Hunt as a flex. Yeah, Ernesto said it. Flex. Good trade, Fantasy Football Network. Once again, man, I don't do it enough. Shout out to the Fantasy Football Network, man. They give us this platform just to do our thing. Shout out to you, brother. You know, we kind of flirted with ideas and whatnot, and here we are. Saturday night, you know, I don't think anyone is offering fantasy football advice Saturday night while everyone's up tinkering their lineups. Hey, if you guys have Javen, Ernesto, BK7, if you guys know some people that play fantasy, man, send them our way. We're going to be here every I have a wedding next week. I'm still going to try to make an appearance. We might have a rotating guest, but I'm going to try to time in, man, and help you guys set your rosters. Just give you a second opinion. We're not experts. We're enthusiasts, and we're here to give you another view that you may not be seeing. Who we got? So we got Philly and versus Atlanta. I think that's going to be another juicy game. Is there anyone in particular that you like in that game? Or you guys in the comments? Are there any players that you guys love? Kyle Pitts. You know, I know you got Mike Davis shares all over everywhere.
I do. And
Calvin Ridley, talk to us.
I want to see how they're going to use Mike Davis. I want to see if
priority 7
basically feed him exactly. I want to see if they're going to feed him a Derrick Henry level of touches tomorrow. That's what I want to see. But I don't expect it because Matt Ryan still throws the ball. I actually like Matt Ryan as well. I am starting him in a couple of my leagues because I really don't see a lot out of Philly's secondary. You got Calvin Ridley, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Russell Gage. That's another guy that I'm looking at as well. So they've got a full complement of receivers there. And then it's going to be I think it could be a high-scoring game depending on what Hurts is able to do. We'll see if he's going to be able to match what Matt Ryan's doing.
We'll see if he's the real deal, man.
Exactly. So, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at him going to tight ends all day. Sorry if you own Devonta Smith. I don't really see too many receptions. Could be wrong, but I'm looking at Ertz and Goddard.
Miles Sanders isn't getting any type of love, bro.
He's not.
Fourth, fifth round, that guy is just being disrespected left and right.
It's the health, man. Health again.
Yeah.
Health. Yeah. Boston Scott, he always rears his head, man, when you're thinking that Sanders is going to score it and they give it to Boston Scott. Yeah. Kenyon Barner, all kind of dudes that they've
right. Corey Clement, back in the day. Yeah,
exactly, man. So, who knows what's going to happen. Sirianni came from the Colts where they ran through a number of different running backs as well, So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's an interesting game. I think that could be a high-scoring fantasy game. The defenses don't scare anybody, so we'll see. Ridley should do Ridley. I'm curious to see what Pitts looks like. I think Mike Davis will be a solid flex play versus
That's all
Philly.
I need him to be.
Yeah,
I just need you to be solid, man. That's all I'm asking.
And then on Philly, I don't think I'm starting either of the tight ends, but I could see them both doing good. Mike Sanders, he's got some flex play, especially if you got him like a fourth or fifth round. Man, we got 3 more games to go. Let's take it up to the Seattle versus Indy. I think Quentin Nelson's going to play. I think Wentz is going to play. Outside, I don't think people are starting Pittman as their flex week 1. So outside of JT, what do you expect from Indy versus that Seattle defense, which sometimes is good, sometimes is maybe good, sometimes is maybe and then you got Seattle with all kinds of different tools with Russ and DK and Lockett, and then you got Chris Carson. I'm starting Jared Everett. FloJo sold me on them, so I'm starting Jared Everett. I know we probably just lost a bunch of followers. I'll just get started Jared Everett. Be careful. Be careful.
I'm not mad at it at all, man. I mean, it's just the thing with Indy. It scares me with Carson Wentz. You just don't know what he has. You know, I don't even know who he really has chemistry with. You know, that's the thing. Nobody knows. We didn't really get to see him in preseason, so we don't know how his chemistry is with Pittman.
Point.
You know, we don't know how it is with Zach Pascal because I know that's who's going to be at the 2. Paris Campbell. We don't even know if he's really healthy or not. You know, that's just the thing. The only one you can really go on is Jonathan Taylor, but I'm going to tell you. Hopefully this year the defensive line for Seattle is a lot better. That's one thing they're looking at is trying to get back to stopping the run. I'm a Seattle fan. Other than Jamal Adams, I don't really trust our secondary. So if Wentz is able to throw the ball, and if I knew there was a definite rapport there with Pittman, I would start Pittman this game. But I just don't know. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I do not know who he.
Fantasy Flow Joe Carson is a dog. He is, man. As long as he's upright, I feel like Carson is the poor man's Dalvin Cook, where it's like he's gonna play 13 games, but like those 13 games, he's gonna give you everything. My man needs to stay out of the gym room. Like, there's no reason for you to squat like 16 plates, bro. Like, we know you're strong. Like, get in a swimming pool, do some yoga, stretch those ligaments. We don't need you to prove your strength, dog. Russell Wilson, they got a new offensive coordinator. Seattle's defense should look good. Questions up. Question. Is he referring to that who runs more violent? Oof. Yeah, Chris Carson does. Better RB core, Najee, Dalvin Cook, or Antonio Gibson versus CMC, Aaron Jones, and James Robinson.
Ooh.
Damn, Ernesto. It's just week 1, bruh.
I know.
Please take me out to dinner first. Buy me a little, buy me a Corona. Jeez. So let's go Cook and CMC. I think that's almost. Some people had Cook as their 1v1, but then you're gonna go Najee versus Aaron Jones, and I think you got to go Aaron Jones in that one, and then Gibson over Robinson. Yeah, I'll probably take the Najee Cook Gibson personally. I don't think James Robinson. I don't think Ohio State. Urban Meyer, man. Like I said it on our show, Fantasy Football Boot Camp. I'll trust a drink from Bill Cosby delivered to me by Cardi B before I trust Urban Meyer, bro. He's a snake, bro. Snake. He's a snake. What, man, what you drinking on over there? I see you trying to sneak that. I see you trying to sneak that.
Nice Cab Franc over here, man. Hey, late night. This is what we do.
Hey, I'm with it. Hey, we're not monetized yet either. And you know what? It wasn't a bottle. It was a glass of Kool-Aid. I don't think Urban Meyer trusts James Robinson like he should.
Come on,
I mean, that's free. At the end of the day, that's free labor. The guy, you're paying him pennies. Run him into the ground. Running backs come a dime a dozen in the NFL. And I think he's going to implement. They drafted Etienne in the first, and they didn't need it. They had so many other needs, and they spent a first on a running back. That shows you how much faith he has in James Robinson. They have a former Ohio State running back in Carlos Hyde. I don't think Hyde is going to be a value play, but I think he's going to have like a sneaky role to take away and devalue James Robinson. So to answer your question, Ernesto, I'm going with the Najee Cook Gibson trio over the CMC led trio. Media, it's late, bro. I see you yawning.
That's all I was laughing.
He ain't nothing, bro. He's so. Hey, and why did they tell me that man was 5'8", bro? I'm still like laughing about that. My man stood up and was like 6'3". I don't know why I thought he was 5'8". I think Piggy told me he was 5'8", bro.
Who?
Flojo's like legit 6'3". He might hit 6'4" and some butters.
Everybody was taller than me there, man. That's all. I couldn't believe it either. But dang, Joe, you gotta bust me out like that, Flo.
Hey, rumor on the street is Flojo got a cannon. The cannon. Flojo's supposed to have a cannon, bro. I didn't get to see him toss that. I know he would have thrown it further than Piggy did at Top Golf, but that's neither here nor there. Let me stop. He had risers in his shoes. Oh my god. Too funny. Chicago. We got 2 games left, man, and then we can answer more questions. You know what? Shout out to my brother Greg Hill. He texted me Kareem Hunt versus KC in a revenge game. Even though he is the RB2 on that roster, or Chase Edmonds versus Tennessee. Who are you starting? And who you guys in the comments?
I think
Hunt versus Edmonds.
Man,
I never tried this. This is our first time. Hunt versus if this works.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Chase.
Yeah. I'm gonna text him back. He's a long time guy I've been giving advice to for probably over a decade, and he hit me up right before I was setting up this. Not fantasy, pure NFL thoughts. Cardinals or Broncos this year? I'll probably go with the Cardinals, even though they play in a tougher division. I'll probably go with the Cardinals. But you know what? Broncos got a good defense. They got a okay offense. I could see them maybe flirting with that 7th seed. I wouldn't be if the Broncos won the 7th seed. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals took the 7th seed. I wouldn't be surprised. Chicago versus the Rams. Let's get you to bed, man. I see you starting to wind down. It's either the age or it's the cab, but either way, you burn the candle on both.
That's it. Pretty soon, my wife will be busting here.
A-Rob, Monty, that's probably who you're starting for Chicago. You got Bobby Trees and Cup, Hendo, and Stafford. That's going to be a defensive game. I mean, you always say it's a defensive game and want you to be like 30 points each.
I know, exactly.
Oh, look, there. Boom bust. Isn't it time for y'all to go to bed in Oklahoma, bro? His caretaker keeps checking. His caretaker.
She'll be back, too. She will be back. I probably got about a good 5 minutes, man.
Dude, that door behind you is just going to creep open. They're going to look to make sure you're good.
Exactly. They're going to wheel me back to my bed.
Yeah. I think it was my brother Piggy Bank Picks was saying Monty is going to have the same type of game that Zeke had, where he's not going to perform toward his ADP unless he scores a touchdown. And it's okay. It's week 1. He's playing the Rams. They were the number 1 fantasy football defense last year. It happens. A-Rob should maybe get a few Ramsey looks, but should be a safe play. He probably won't perform where you drafted him, but he should be a wide receiver 2 probably this week. Rams, I'm actually expecting them to do pretty well, especially Cooper Kupp. I think just looking at film, I think him and Stafford have built a little bit more chemistry, and they are going back to what I was saying. I think someone was asking about Higbee earlier. Rams are going back to one single tight end formation, which Cooper Kupp excelled in. Last year they switched and ran 12 offense, which benefited Robert Woods. So I see Kupp doing well. I think Cooks is a solid wide receiver too. Henderson, he's an anomaly, man. I had to start him because I lost JK, but we'll see. What are your thoughts?
I'm really afraid of the Rams running game. I know some people are very bullish on Henderson. Some people are kind of backing off. Mm-hmm. I really want to see what type of use they're going to have with Sony Michel as well. That's my thing. That's what scares me about Henderson. Is just knowing that you actually have what could be another starting running back right behind this guy, and you don't know what Sean McVay has done with him. Because that's the other thing. You just never know what Sean McVay has up his sleeve, man. if he wants somebody that he can dump the ball off to and actually be a reception running back, it might be Sony Michel more than Darrell Henderson because of the problem with his hand. So that's the thing I'm looking at. I'm wondering if it's going to be almost like a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt situation, where Sony Michel's going to be in there quite a bit. So that's the guy I want to see with Sony Michel. Not starting anything, just want to say that's just who I'm focused on. I always use week 1 to kind of give me a gauge on what teams are going to do
for sure
going on the next week. So
BK7, where does DK rank on y'all's wide receiver rankings in general this year? Not week 1, but overall. I kind of got him in that wide receiver 7 or 8 range.
Top 5.
You got him at 5? Top 5?
Top 5, yes.
If he finished top 5, I wouldn't be surprised. For me, I say top 7, top 8, because Lockett is there. But Lockett that also helps keeps the defense honest. So I think what did he finish wide receiver 7 or 8 last year, like right in front of Justin Jefferson. I can see him in that 5 to 7 range. Let's call it 6. Let's call it 6.5. Bro, please. Stop. Sony hurt. Don't belong in the same sentence. Hey, Flojo got Henderson playing against me week 1, so I think Sony's worth rostering, man, because Henderson hasn't finished a full season as a starter. But it should be his backfield until he proves otherwise. And unless he starts fumbling or gets hurt, it should be majority his backfield, especially since Sony probably doesn't even know the offense as of yet. Last game. Let's wrap it up. Baltimore, Las Vegas, Tyson, Lamar twice. Lamar has caught something twice. I know you're not supposed to say it on YouTube because they it'll hurt your algorithm. So I'm not going to. 19 and Mark Andrews. What we got? Josh. We got Waller the Baller and Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. Man. I mean, looking at Baltimore, I'm definitely all in on Mark Andrews. Mm-hmm. I'm actually in on Tyson Williams, to tell you the truth. I actually put him in the league. I'm playing him in my flex. I think he's going to get the ball. Hell, they might come out and run an option between him and Lamar. You don't know what the hell they're going to do. That's what I know about Greg Roman, but I know he's going to find something to get that running game going. So that's why I'm really, really high on Tyson Williams, man. So him and Mark Andrews definitely on the Raiders side. I'm not really trusting a whole lot of people. Flojo's out.
Hey, tomorrow, man, make sure you guys tune in. Come back to the Fantasy Football Network. My brothers, 2/3 of the Fantasy Football Boot Camp, presented to you by Fantasy Football Network. They got a morning show coming out tomorrow. I think starting at 8:30. Make sure you watch their show, man. And they'll pick up, and then they'll have an updated injury report. So, I mean, I can't promise you that they'll be as good as us, but I mean, they should be cool. At least bronze. At least bronze, But Josh Jacobs worries me versus the matchup. Baltimore always plays good. And then Kenyon Drake is there. I feel like you can't bench him. If you draft someone in the top 4, in the first 4 picks, you have to start him. But he does worry me. Waller, I mean, you have to start him. You have to start Andrews. If you have Tyson, you don't necessarily have to start him, but I'm not mad at him as a flex play. And then Lamar, you have to start Lamar versus Las Vegas. That's a no-brainer. Bruh, laugh out loud. You like that K19, D-Hop, or Devontae non-fantasy? Ooh, how you doing that to me, BK7? BK7, man, if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and go follow us on Instagram, bruh, I'll answer it. I appreciate you walking with us, man. You're probably one of the first people to rock with us. I don't know if this is a burner account or if you're just actually someone out there in the ethos just rocking with 2 random dudes. But we appreciate your presence. I'm going to go with D-Hop because he's quarterback proof. He did it with Tom 21 Savage. Yeah. He did it with Brock Osweiler. He did it with Deshaun Watson. It don't matter who his quarterback is. He's quarterback proof. I have yet to see Devontae Adams Devontae Adams wasn't eating with Brett Hundley when Aaron Rodgers went down. So that would be for me. Imagine DeAndre Hopkins with Aaron Rodgers. That's the way I put it. What about you? You can't go wrong with either or. I think that's like 1A and 1B.
Exactly. But I am going with Devontae. I'm just looking at it strictly because it's Aaron Rodgers. I understand what you're saying about D-Hop being quarterback proof, but D-Hop, they both kind of deal with little nagging industry. These guys are killing me right now. You see that, right? Anyway, I was saying these guys both dealing with small injuries all the time, little turf toe problems and things like that keep them out of a couple of games. So, but man, the Marcus Allen, do you know, I actually saw somebody the other day come in where I was with a Marcus Allen t-shirt on. I'm like, these guys didn't talk this whole thing up, man. I'm going to be seeing Marcus Allen everywhere I go now.
Grocery store, Foot Locker.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, man, I think that wraps everything up, man. Please follow, subscribe my brother media, Jeff Clark, on his YouTube and his Instagram and his Facebook. Please hit me up, the Las Vegas Fantasy Football Conference. That is my fantasy handle. Please follow Fantasy Football Boot Camp. Last but certainly not least, man, the Fantasy Football Network. Shout out to Boom and Bust, Colin and Corey, man. Thank you for giving us this platform. Hopefully we see you guys next Saturday, and we have more, have more fun, man. Bring some friends. You guys have anyone that has any questions? We got answers, man. Fantasy Night Live. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Peace.